Welcome back to America's Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. The segment's brought to you by Red IQ. This is amazing software system, if you will. It takes static PDFs and of P&Ls and rent rolls for multifamily and puts them right into their system, and the analytics you could do are off the charts. Check it out at rediq.com. Well, today we're talking to Julie Melander. She's the 2019 chair of the Board of Counselors of Real Estate, CRE. And we're here in Studio 1, and we've gone from 10 down to 5. Now we're at number 4, the technology effect. And we're talking about the top 10 issues affecting real estate. So number 4, technology effect.
So what we heard from counselors this year about technology was how the adoption of technology in our industry has been fairly consistent with other industries on the back office kinds of technology, like accounting software and CRM and those kind of IT related technologies,
like Red IQ.
Red IQ. Yeah, but what counselors are a little more attuned to right now is that the building systems, the operating technology, hasn't been as quick to be adopted, and that's an important part of what they think is important for 19 and 20 is that the industry pay attention to that. The HVAC systems, the building operating systems are finally getting experts in there to help with cyber security, and they have the kind of skills that are needed to bring that part of our industry up to where it needs to be.
Yeah, and as part of the reason why maybe some builders, architects, developers that are maybe they're not incorporating this new technology as fast as we'd like because of rising construction costs. I mean, if all the other hard construction costs are rising, then maybe it's hard to justify the extra cost of the technology, or why are they slow to do it?
I don't know why they're slow, but I think that to be competitive and to have secure buildings, which are critical, they're going to need to do it.
Yeah. All right. So now we're down to the top 3, and we're doing the David Letterman style, going from 10 back to number 1. So number 3 is weather and climate.
Yes. Our top 3 are all issues that the counselors felt really strongly about, that needed to be on everybody's radar list. And so as we talk about weather and climate risk and the events, what we have focused on is the cost to our country and cost to our industry. We have some statistics from the Center for Climate, National Center for Environmental Information. That's the nation's scorekeeper of the economic impact of weather events and climate-related events. And what they are telling us is 2017 was a record year. It cost America $300 billion. And then we have 2018, where we have more than $14 billion plus events that added up to be another $91 billion. So, between 1980 and 2018, average annual costs are $20 billion. So it's critical. It's a very important part of what goes into real estate ownership and underwriting. And because of those costs, the industry is seeing that investors and owners are requiring us as fiduciaries to look at that risk and assess it, plan for it. And certainly the kinds of actions that are being taken are things like hardening the assets, like moving the operating systems to the mechanical systems to higher levels in the building, looking at backup battery investments, the backup generators is what I'm thinking of, and seawalls, berms, those kinds of things. Those investments are being made, and certainly insurance is something that every building gets. and the cost of insurance is a major issue for us in our industry these days, and it may even be that some of these events aren't even going to be insurable in the future. So it's something that needs to be on our radar. Yes, I mean, as investors and owners, fund managers become more and more aware of these costs, they are asking for additional information. So there are several initiatives in the marketplace that are focused on gathering the data that helps us measure, as owners and investors, climate risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's something to watch out for. You know, insurance seems to get more expensive all the time, and when they've got to pay out billions like you're talking about, it's just bound to happen. Yeah. All right, so we're down to number 2, and this one hits home, if you will, for everyone. Housing in America. Yes. The counselors expanded their discussion about the affordability of housing, which is what we focused on last year, to really housing in America, because affordability is an issue for middle America now as well. We talked a little bit earlier about debt levels, and certainly student loans and as well as health care costs are very significant parts of the average American household, and it's impacting the ability to pay for housing. And we've talked about as costs have gone up, so we've got two dynamics here with increasing costs of housing and decreasing ability to pay for it. Yeah. Yeah, and that seems to be almost seemingly the only thing to curtail the growth we've seen in the multifamily market is, the affordability of the tenants. Where how do you find these tenants how many tenants can pay $2 plus a foot in these communities? Right. Yeah. Well, one of the headlines I picked up as I was preparing some of these remarks was from June, just last week. The Wall Street Journal reports that Google's committed $1 billion to housing out there in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they recognize that they're going to have to contribute, and other corporations have done the same. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a problem, and part of it could be, it seems like there's a lot less home builders too in the world than there used to be before the last downturn. And yes, and if you're a builder, and I apologize for chuckling, but there's a lot less out there building houses, and so is it part of the housing on the home side a lack of supply, or is it the rising cost of the construction? Is it? It would be. Comments that I read coming back from our counselors was to that point exactly, that the costs have gone up to such a point that the supply at the more affordable range of 200, 300,000, where you think the first-time home buyer in the middle America is just not there. So yeah, that supply isn't there. Yeah. Perhaps because Yeah. All right, so now we are down to the number 1 issue, the top 10 issues affecting real estate via the CRE counselors. And number 1, drum roll please, infrastructure. Yes. Infrastructure. Yes. Tell us about that. I admit I was a little surprised to see that as the issue, but it is for the same reason that I was surprised. We don't hear that much about it because there's other more sensational headlines. But infrastructure did have a pretty significant headline this spring, and that underscores the magnitude of this issue. In April, the New York Times, I guess, as well as other sources, reported that the White House and the Democratic leadership had agreed to a $2 trillion package to address our roads and bridges and infrastructure. And then several weeks later, it was tabled. But that's the magnitude of what we need to see from the federal government. I have a slide and a presentation that I put together for NAREIT that shows in all the categories of infrastructure, we have significant gaps between what's needed and what's currently being provided for. Yeah. And does that mean the investment goes to other countries over the U.S.? Is that the part of the problem?
Well, the counselors many of the counselors have global practices, so it was observed that other countries are doing a better job than we are. We're losing some global competitiveness without this investment.
Yeah, and if you're a developer, you're trying to put out a new product, whether it's housing or whatever it is, if you have to contribute too much money to the infrastructure, the deals aren't going to pencil. We stop getting the growth that we need, right?
That's right. That's right. If we're not getting sufficient funds from public sources, we need to find alternatives. There is a lot of money in the private sector to invest in infrastructure, but we need coordination.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of these things seem to kind of run together, right?
They do.
They do. So what would you leave our audience with to kind of think about overall after you guys have really gone through this top 10 issues and heavily debated the top ones?
The overall message here, as I look at what we've come up with, is caution. It's a yellow light. It's not stop, but there are certainly indicators that we need to pay attention to that signal that this could be the end of cycle. We need to be circumspect about our underwriting assumptions going forward.
Yeah. Well, it's always good to use caution. Yeah. All right, Julie, thanks for joining us. Great information.
Thank you, Michael.
And if you'd like to see the summary papers, go to CRE.org and you see the summary pages on the top 10 issues affecting real estate. And we'd like to hear your comments. And if you appreciate the show, hey, please share it. Please reach out to our sponsors and connect with us, if you will. We're on Facebook and we're on LinkedIn and we're on Twitter. We're probably some other places where you might find us. So thank you for being with us. Until next week, be sure that you always lead, learn, and laugh, and join us for America's Commercial Real Estate Show. America's Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty. For customized asset and occupancy solutions, visit bullrealty.com. Commercial Agent Success Strategies. Incredible training for commercial agents. Visit commercialagentsuccess.com. Red IQ, turning multifamily data into actionable intelligence. Visit rediq.com.